try to support the top players and all that stuff, which I think needed to happen because that was the only way to retain talent at the time. But now that Liv looks like it's less of a threat.
The heavy oak doors of the private meeting room didn't just close. They were slammed shut, sealing in 7 of the most powerful men in professional golf for a session that was never supposed to exist on any official itinerary. While the public was focused on the leaderboards and the pristine fairways, a much darker reality was unfolding in the shadows of the locker room. This wasn't a standard player advisory council meeting or a casual chat about course conditions. This was a calculated high-stakes council of war. Reports have begun to leak that 7 of the world's top stars, led by the likes of Rory McIlroy, Brooks Koepka, and Xander Schauffele, held a secret summit with one singular explosive objective: the systematic removal and potential ban of Scottie Scheffler from the tour's elite inner circle. For over 2 years, the golf world has been lulled into a sense of security by Scottie Scheffler's quiet, almost robotic dominance. He has been presented as the golden boy, the humble family man who just happens to have the most statistically elite ball-striking game in history. But the facade of the gentleman's game has finally shattered. Behind the polite handshakes and the synchronized trophy presentations, a locker room civil war has been brewing, and it has reached a point of no return. This secret meeting was the culmination of months of private betrayals and institutional rot that have left the tour in a state of absolute paralyzing shock. The peers who once stood beside him in the winner's circle are now the very architects of a plot to ensure his era of dominance comes to a permanent, unceremonious end. To understand why 7 major champions would risk their reputations to target a fellow player, you have to look at the immense psychological friction that has turned the locker room into a theater of war. Human psychology tells us that absolute dominance doesn't just breed respect, it breeds a deep, toxic resentment, especially when that dominance is paired with perceived special treatment. Sources indicate that the 7-star dossier of evidence against Scheffler focuses on what many are calling a 2-track system, a rigged framework where the rules of the game seem to bend for the world number 1, while the rest of the field is subjected to the full, brutal weight of the rulebook. This perceived favoritism has created a systemic rot that Rory McIlroy reportedly warned would completely ruin the credibility of the sport.
Like an event, I guess, like just recency, an event like last week, the Canadian Open, potentially going to one of these track 2s. And like track 2's a glorified Corn Ferry event. Like that's what track 2 is going to be. So I don't think the Canadian Open should be one of those. As I said, the old ways of the PGA Tour weren't actually that bad.
The catalyst that pushed these stars from quiet frustration to an outright secret meeting was the exposure of Scheffler's secret $1 billion deal to leave the PGA Tour. While Scheffler maintained a public image of loyalty, the accidental recording of private conversations between his team and tour officials confirmed that he was negotiating a payout so massive it left his own business partners speechless. For players like Koepka and Schauffele who have fought for every dollar of their legacy, this secret deal was the ultimate locker room betrayal. It signaled that Scheffler wasn't just a competitor, he was an entity operating outside the boundaries of the Brotherhood, a player who had effectively sold the tour to secure his own billion-dollar future. But the betrayal goes deeper than just money. It has become a ruthless game of psychological hazing. One of the most chilling details to emerge from the tour's inner circles is the transformation of the elite player group chat. This digital locker room, which includes stars like Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, and Patrick Cantlay, was once a sanctuary for banter and logistics. However, following Scheffler's bizarre and viral arrest at the PGA Championship, a moment that left the sports world in a state of absolute shock, the tone shifted. The players reportedly turned the chat into a theater of psychological warfare, immediately changing the group's profile picture to Scheffler's official police mugshot. While it was framed as an inside joke, insiders suggest it was a calculated move to haze a champion who had become too powerful for the field to handle.
Driver testing is something that regularly happens on tour. My driver did fail at the beginning of this week. We had a feeling that it was going to be coming because I had used that driver for over a year. And so I was kind of fortunate for it to last that long, I felt like. And I would argue that if we're going to test the drivers, we need to be even more robust in the way we test them. And that was a conversation I had with one of the rules officials is I think we have some stuff to figure out, and I think if we're going to do it, we might as well do it right and get even more robust, even more strict. And you can test guys every week if you want. I mean, there's no reason why we shouldn't. I think if it's something that we're going to take seriously, I feel like we're almost going kind of halfway with it right now, where if we're going to test only a third of the field, I mean, if we're going to do it right, leave it up to us as players, like the rest of the rules in the game of golf are. This is just, it's a newer rule that we haven't quite gotten right yet.
This environment of fiercely guarded secrets was further compromised when Xander Schauffele inadvertently betrayed Scheffler in a bombshell driver scandal. During a routine media availability, Schauffele accidentally leaked the information that Scheffler's driver had failed the USGA's strict pendulum test for club face conformity.
I've been told by sources that the group chat, that you have changed the group chat to include Scheffler's mugshot.
That was not. There was someone else on our table that did that. It was the day after. We needle Scottie. He kicked it like a champ. So our little group chat for our physio table, it ended up being a mugshot of Scottie, and he took it great. He showed up the next day smiling at everybody.
In the world of professional golf, your equipment is your lifeblood, and exposing a rival's technical vulnerability is seen as a massive breach of trust. This wasn't a casual slip of the tongue. It was a symptom of a camp that was hyper-vigilantly monitoring every crack in Scheffler's armor. Maya Schauffele's rare insights from the home front confirm this reality, noting that these rivalries are a 24-hour obsession that consumes entire households. When the world number one is viewed not as a friend, but as a mathematical impossibility to true friendship, the locker room betrayal becomes inevitable. The secret meeting of the 7 stars reportedly focused on a list of record-breaking contract demands and shocking warnings that Scheffler had issued to tour officials. Scheffler had allegedly delivered a 5-rule ultimatum, threatening to quit the tour unless the governing bodies abolished specific regulations that restricted his commercial freedom. The stars in the meeting were furious that a single player would attempt to blackmail the entire institution. They argued that Scheffler's dominance was no longer based on pure skill, but on a rigged system that granted him a huge advantage in equipment testing, pairing decisions, and schedule flexibility. They didn't just want to beat him on the course, they wanted him banned from the signature events that defined the tour's prestige. This institutional meltdown has triggered a sponsor panic of unprecedented proportions. Corporate giants like NBC, Nike, and Adidas are reportedly watching the locker room war with a sense of absolute paralysis. NBC has already threatened to pull a $700 million deal unless the USGA and the PGA Tour can restore integrity to the game, when the biggest stars in the sport are holding secret meetings to oust the world number one. The commercial viability of the product begins to evaporate. Sponsors pay for the gentleman's game of honor and tradition, not for a bloodbath of litigation and locker room confrontations that resemble a corporate coup more than a sporting competition. The 7 stars are reportedly using the ongoing Wyndham-Clark cheating scandal as leverage to force the tour's hand. They argue that if the governing bodies are willing to cover up viral video, evidence of rules violations to protect a champion, then the entire competitive framework of the tour is disastrously compromised. By linking Scheffler's dominance to this broader integrity crisis, they are painting him as a stain on the game who must be removed to save the sport's psychological soul. This is psychological warfare at its most elite level, using the scandals of others to build a case for the recusal or ban of the man they can no longer beat on the grass. As the details of this secret meeting continue to ripple through the equipment trailers and the private jets, the tour is facing a mass walkout threat from the rank-and-file players who feel abandoned by the 2-track system. Up to 120 players face relegation under a brutal new system, and they are now looking to the 7-star cabal as their only hope for leveling the playing field. The locker room betrayal of Scottie Scheffler is being framed as a necessary rebellion against a rigged monarchy. For players who have been eliminated by brutal course conditions or diabolical tournament setups, the idea of removing the golden boy is the only way to reclaim their own career Grand Slam bids. What makes this betrayal so effective for human retention is the sheer contrast in how these titans operate. You have Scheffler, the robotic titan with the chaotic foot-sliding swing, pitted against Schauffele, the textbook perfectionist, and McIlroy, the moral compass of the tour. This isn't just a competition, it's a mathematical philosophical divide that has turned every practice green and every locker room hallway into a pressure cooker. The accidental recordings and leaked text messages are the only windows the public has into this volatile reality, and what they show is a sport that is imploding from the inside out. The locker room war has reached such an intense level that tour officials are reportedly scrambling to separate stars before final round handshakes. The heated exchanges caught on camera between Scheffler and his peers are no longer isolated incidents. They are the visible sparks of an absolute meltdown. When Scheffler reportedly exploded at Xander Schauffele before a major round, it was the sound of the mask of pleasant camaraderie finally shattering. The era of the polite nod is over. We have entered the era of the secret meeting, the private dossier, and the billion-dollar exit deal. The 7 stars involved in this secret plot are reportedly waiting for a 48-hour deadline for the tour to respond to their list of shocking demands. If the commissioner fails to act, they have threatened to abandon signature events, leaving sponsors in complete shock and the tour's 2027 schedule in absolute chaos. This is no longer a rumor or a controversy. It is a defining trial for professional golf. The 7-star meeting has proven that even the most dominant king in the world isn't safe when his peers decide that the integrity of the game is a price they are no longer willing to pay for his success. As we look toward the next major championship, the question isn't just who will win, but who will even show up. The locker room betrayal has created an environment where true friendship is a mathematical impossibility and where every private argument has the potential to end a partnership or a career. Professional golf has become a bloodbath of ego and finance, and the secret meeting to ban Scottie Scheffler is the ultimate proof that the gentleman's game is officially dead. The psychological soul of the sport is up for sale, and the bidders are the very stars who were supposed to protect it. The fallout from this secret meeting will be felt for decades. It has shattered the illusion of the PGA Tour as a sanctuary of honor and exposed it as an absolute pressure cooker where private betrayals are the primary currency. Whether Scheffler survives this 7-star plot remains to be seen, but the locker room war has already done irreparable harm to the sport's economy and its traditions. The Golden Boy may still be at the top of the leaderboard, but he is now a social pariah in the very rooms where he once belonged. The 7-star cabal has drawn their line in the sand, and they aren't moving until the monarchy of Scottie Scheffler is a thing of the past. That's it for today, folks. See you in the next video.